body of work almost 10 years ago, so some of it is quite old, certainly by the standards of fine art photography, where you're supposed to come up with a new body of work every 6 months or 1 year, depending on who your dealer is. But this is what I do. I make pictures at or near night. I make pictures near the intersection of tracks and highways and bodies of water. And I make pictures mostly on foot, with the exception of pictures made with a helicopter, but I'll get into that later. And I make them within about a 5-mile radius of Newark, New Jersey. That's what I've been doing for the past 10 years. A lot of my life has been woven up with those of my friends and my loved ones, so a lot of my story doesn't even, strictly speaking, belong just to me. It's somebody else's life as well. I like stories that I've overheard. I like stories told in bars. I like all kinds of text that can be speech, that can be legal records, that can be newspaper headlines and billboards and political exhortations and slang and graffiti. I like all kinds of words and stories. And I think there's kind of an unbroken continuum. And on one end of it, there's the kind of stories about the fish that was this big, and it gets bigger in the retelling, and that's kind of on one end, those kinds of stories, lies. And on the other end, there's having the courage to stand up and say, I was there, and it wasn't like that. And that's maybe the truth. But I think it's sort of a long continuum, it's unbroken. So I love stories. And so I thought we could just go through and look at about 10 years worth of pictures. And then I've also been playing with words where I've been writing them into the pictures, and it's kind of something that I didn't see coming. It was the story, and there's no sort of plausibility to it. So I thought my words they're just not doing it. They're not up to the task. So I had to use somebody else's, or at least this is what I told myself. So this is a section reproduced without permission of a wonderful poem that I had seen by a contemporary Afghani poet. And the line reads, "My memory gets in the way of your history." And this is the roof of our house. And I say our, I mean, it's my life intertwined with other people's, so the story belongs to a lot of different people, and there's different versions of it because everyone lived it. And I actually was writing so fast, and again, I'm not a terribly athletic soul, that I left out a little piece of the phrase inadvertently. So it's reproduced incorrectly and without permission. And my hope had been that eventually this would somehow enter the official record, because I had heard when I was little that the Department of Agriculture did surveys over the world. And this is before Google Earth, this is before everything was accessible to practically anyone on demand. And again, just the idea that I heard from somewhere there was going to be the survey every 10 years. Where do we get our information from? Is it even reliable? Where do we get our story from? Where do we get our information? How do we make decisions? How do we make choices? Is it based on good information? And so I had this sort of blind faith that eventually I would get to see this. And that was kind of as far as the thinking went. That was sort of as far as I could go at the time. And I kept waiting. And I guess I wasn't very patient, because about 2 years down the line, I was able to have the financial opportunity to hire a helicopter pilot because I wanted to see my house. I didn't want to wait for the government. I guess I just lacked patience. So this is about 400 feet above. That's as close as you can legally get in urban areas. So I just want you to think about 400 feet, if you can kind of visualize it, football fields or whatever your frame of reference is. It's kind of a weirdly intimate scale. You're kind of right on top of something, but not really. It's not like you can